Hey, 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 scrappy people, and happy Sketchy Sunday. Today we are working with this sketch over here on the left-hand side, plus the brand new Island Time collection to scrapbook another photo from my Hawaiian vacation. Be prepared for lots of Hawaiian vacation photos. I think I came home with over 1,000, which of course I'm not going to scrapbook them all, but there's going to be a lot of pages. So I am taking this paper that I printed from the 12 by 12 papers in the Island Time collection, and I layered some of the digital paint on the paper, aligning with the paint on the sketch before I printed. And now I'm just adding in some Heidi Swap Color Shine and some Distress Oxide to the page before I start building the sketch up. And I'm going to dry it off a little bit just so that I don't smear anything, but luckily it was already pretty dry when I started this, so it only took a second. I'm going to be sticking really closely to the sketch, except my 12 by 12 printer, for some reason, will not print edge to edge 12 by 12. So this is slightly smaller than a 12 by 12, so I will be matting it on white cardstock instead of going, edge to edge here. I'm going to create the tear, and then I will stick the whole thing down on white cardstock using that striped paper. I'm double striping it today, using that striped paper as my other paper in this sketch. So I accidentally cut this paper too skinny. I did like 1.5 inches. I should have done 2 inches, and it doesn't quite meet the tear in some places, which you will see here in a second. But I decided that actually wasn't a big deal, because you can barely tell that it doesn't hit the tear. If I didn't point it out, you probably wouldn't notice because of the way that the tear works. Because it's white on the outside edge, it's not that big of a deal, and so I decided to just leave it. Sometimes you just leave it. You don't go back and fix it because you decide that it's not worth it, and that is what I did. So I'm going to stick this down, and I will immediately notice that it does not hit the edge. I actually contemplated for a little while what I wanted to do, and then decided to do nothing. So just in a couple places it doesn't meet the edge. You can't really tell. At least I'm going to tell myself that. Okay, so I have 2 photos here, 3 by 4s like the sketch says, and then I have a bunch of little paper scraps from the Island Time collection, and these little frames are just actually cut out pieces of cardstock from the collection. There's no frames like this in the collection itself. I just used my silhouette to cut some square frames, and they're already kind of sticky on the back because of the silhouette mat, so I'm just gonna let them ride, because I'll use the adhesive that goes on the papers and photos that go over the top of them to stick them down. But I will have to go in with glue in a couple places and glue them down, but for now we're gonna let it ride. So you can see that I have the same, not the same photo, but 2 photos taken at the same time. They're actually cropped in different sizes, so one is closer than the other one. They weren't taken that way, I just printed them that way, and that gives a little bit of variation when you're using similar photos. It makes your layout a little bit more interesting and dynamic than if I had cropped them both to the same, distant orientation, or distant, I don't think orientation is a correct word, the same distant photo, or even the same close-up. They would not be as interesting as they are with 2 different perspectives. I'm using my scissors to hold up the adhesive backed photos and things so that it doesn't stick down to my cardstock prematurely, because I printed this on basil cardstock, because Epson premium presentation paper at that size is really cost prohibitive in my opinion. You get like 20 for $80, and I'm not doing that. So I'll just print on basil cardstock, and the only problem is sometimes the color isn't as vibrant, but I was actually really impressed with the color vibrancy on this paper. It worked out really well. Okay, so this is the basic sketch done. Now I'm going to start embellishing, starting with my title. It's going to say Aloha, Waikiki. This was one of the first photos that we took once we left the Disney resort. The Disney resort was a choice by my nephew who was getting married. He got married at the Disney resort, so we were there for the first few days, but we're not really resort people. We want to explore, we want to get out of the hotel and enjoy the sights. If we're going to go across the ocean to see an island, I want to see the island. So this page is about how excited we were to get out of the resort, even though the resort was beautiful and lovely and relaxing. Excited to get out of the resort and enjoy the sights of Waikiki. Although I will say, Waikiki is definitely a tourist destination. It is a man-made tourist destination, but it was different than the resort, so it felt like we were seeing a little bit more of Hawaii. I would love to go back and actually see the island, Oahu, and all the other islands. I want to see the jungle, I want to see the volcanoes, I want to see North Shore of Oahu, I want to see all of these places, but unfortunately we only had 2 days, not even 2 days, a day and a half outside of the resort to explore. So we decided to just go to Waikiki and sit on the beach. My husband, his birthday was the last day we were in Hawaii, and he wanted to surf. So we decided to just go to an iconic surf beach and stay there for the 2 days that we had left in Hawaii, rather than making ourselves even more exhausted and running around the island. We will save running around the island for another time. Just gives us an excuse to go back, right? So I'm just building up the clusters like they were on the sketch. They are a little bit different. I'm adding a little bit more, and some of the placement is slightly different just because I'm accommodating like that big palm tree and the way that my photos are. You can always diverge from the sketch and make it your own. That is the whole point. Or you can be like me and stick as closely as possible. I did make the sketch, so obviously I like the sketch. So I do stick as close as possible to the sketch when I am making my layouts. But even for me, sometimes things change a little bit. I'm going to add these surfboards in. We're obviously not surfing, but Waikiki is a surf beach, one of the iconic ones. So surfboards make sense. Plus they take up a lot of space on this page and make it really interesting. And then the last thing that I'm going to add on here that's like according to the sketch is going to be this last cluster once I move the sun a little lower. There we go. This last cluster, and then I decide to add in some sequins because you know I love a little bit of bling. So we're going to add in sequins and make it a little bit shiny. One more Monstera leaf though. When the Disney resort in Alani was full of Monsteras, so I was super happy that I have all these Monstera leaves in this collection to play with because the whole resort was just covered in Monsteras. I was so jealous of all these beautiful Monsteras, wishing I lived in a tropical climate so that they grew as lovely for me, but no, I do not. All right, so I decided to go with the teal sequins and I spilled them everywhere. No big deal. Maybe. I still haven't cleaned them up. Shh, don't tell anyone. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and add them in little clusters around my other clusters just to add some fun pops of shiny to add into like that gold color shine that I've got going on. And you know me, I just love sequins. I add sequins to like everything. I think that they're fun. They're like enamel dots. They finish everything off. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link in the description box below to the sketch number 51 blog post. You can download a printable PDF on that blog post and also see all of the other layouts that my team has put together with this sketch and get some ideas on how to make it different and, you know, make it interesting. So I will see you next time. Thank you.